I just assume sell the yard. Fertilizer and what have you.
What's wrong with people?
Oh, yeah, we got all that Fox Valley coming down. It used to kind of stay up in the farm field too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing, yeah. Thing. Been back, I used to walk the dog back there. I was getting older, he doesn't know that far. So turn around before we get out of our day.
Vacation this week or something?
Yep.
England.
Howard, you're right next to Megan.
You're over here.
I try to push you around.
Oh, good.
Moving around, huh? All right. Meet some new people.
That's right.
Got our next strong town meeting on Thursday this week.
Yeah.
We'll see how it
Good.
goes.
It's working.
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nervous about it.
All right, once you turn it
Okay,
on, maybe.
It's your dog.
Second time around, it's tough.
I didn't bring my iPad.
He turns almost into a puppy.
Put it to the library.
He like one big around. It's a golden retriever.
How you guys been?
It'll be fun.
In the summer, huh? Kids start school today.
2-year-old
I'm gonna talk about.
retrievers. And
My 5-year-old
a report
first
that
day
came
of
out
kindergarten.
to do some more research, and I'll talk about it during the notes.
Harry's on the second
Curiosity,
grade.
but yeah,
Poodle.
see how that goes. We got good influence. Right the same last time. We got.
Harrison's Taylor,
I think we're gonna pass away last numbers.
Maya.
Well, we had Carl, so our 6-year-old. This next one, so we'll see.
Oh, really?
Play with it.
I am done with that. New building for second grade.
Drop off.
Orchard Hill.
Yeah.
It's been out so long. It's my daughter.
No, my daughter.
He would
Right.
he had some kind of.
She's actually there for 3 years because they.
Called her, you know, this, he might.
Yeah, it took me.
Everybody over, then she did second and third too.
She was like, no.
First, second and third.
Second.
So, and that was her dog originally.
I very.
This is the bus that she comes in.
No, she was there for.
I'm either out of
One of them.
7:30 or I wait till.
It's crazy because Maya's birthday comes late in October.
Yeah, if I wanted to.
Like she could have done one,
But it didn't have time.
but they won't. I mean, any
But
circumstance.
anyway, she,
You know.
that day.
so, well, these guys live down. I tried to be.
So she was at LHP, oh my God, and she basically had.
I was like, if we can lie, we can Google search that.
Like she does like basic multiplication
I
and
think it's so complicated
he
to.
can read basic book.
Whatever you do, Jojo, don't.
Wants to learn.
Better than.
Very creative too.
They both- Now she's settled down, married.
Like Harrison's,
And she's-
If I get caught in that, I keep
so
going.
they say they're not BP classes, but
Yeah,
just
so-
like advanced classes that the teacher comes into different classes. But yeah, I think he likes it because he gets like a year between them, because they done everything together. She loves her.
That's the thing, it's so much. One time, like.
Well, it'd be good for her too, just to kind of
Oh, yeah.
try to be
And I'm
around.
like, oh, yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, that's a bad idea.
They got lots of car and they was
I
ready
went
to
out.
go.
Same thing. Doing that, I gotta go.
Cheers.
Okay. You fine?
Right.
We're fine.
Southeast corner of the river.
Oh, really? Example.
It wasn't that bad.
Up to Iowa State.
There had to be one up here.
Short of
in
tennis.
the Highway today.
Ask me
I saw a
what-
bunch of these.
Yeah, I told my wife.
Doing something.
Good. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Get this one going. I will now call to order the August 25th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The time is 5:45 PM. Hillary, would you call the roll for us, please?
Eaton,
Here.
Hinders,
Here.
Thompson,
Here.
Steiger, Samuelson,
Here.
Forrest,
Here.
Reagonator.
Here. Item number 3 is the approval of tonight's agenda. Any changes to this evening's agenda? Hearing nothing, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda.
Eden motion.
Thompson second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Item number 4 is the approval of the July 28th, 2025 minutes. Any changes to those minutes? Hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the July 28th, 2025 minutes.
Samuelson motion.
Thompson second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We don't have any guests here in person tonight and don't believe there are any on the Zoom. So we'll move on to our public hearing. This is a public hearing and recommendation on a zoning amendment to the Norwalk zoning ordinance related to accessory dwelling units. We'll open the public hearing at 5:47 p.m. Elliot, would you brief us on this item, please?
No, please don't.
Oh, Luke, yay.
Oh yeah, you get to listen to me tonight. You didn't realize when you signed up. So earlier this year in spring, during the State House session, the state approved a new Senate file that is related to accessory dwelling units and the cities and counties actually ability to regulate them. And so what it essentially does is makes it so that there's very few things that we can regulate about accessory dwelling units. We currently have on file a chapter on accessory dwelling units that would no longer conform with what the state's rules are. So this ordinance basically cleans that up so that we'll be in conformance with the state code. From a high level perspective, it's a little frustrating, the state kind of removing the city's local control on such issues, especially as I think we've been talking a lot about accessory dwelling units and been moving towards finding a way to make it work in Norwalk, and then to just have this dropped on us is a little frustrating. With that said, generally, accessory dwelling units look pretty favorably from the planning perspective of things, especially as trying to find more ways for there to be affordable housing within communities. So it's not without its benefits. I included in your agenda packet, I won't run through everything that the state is requiring or restricting cities from doing, but it's there in that bullet pointed list. Really, ordinance wise, we just had a couple things that we needed to do to clean up the ordinance. First was related to definition of accessory dwelling unit. We swapped out our current definition for what the state definition is. And then we pretty much rewrote our accessory dwelling unit chapter or section of 175A to mirror what the state code says. There's one point in there that I've highlighted, it's number 5, that is, there's a little bit of wiggle room that the city has on where we want to regulate something. So I'll cover that in a minute and we can kind of get some discussion and any decision on that. And then the last thing we have to do with this ordinance is actually identify in our R1 districts that it's allowed as an accessory dwelling units allowed on a single family home lot. I did include a little note there. The wording of this is very specific because how the zoning works is things that are allowed in R1 are allowed in R2 and then on R3. Not really concerned about a townhome lot having an accessory dwelling unit be built on it just from a spatial, there's just not room. But when we say on a lot with a current single family home, that kind of restricts it to what the intent of the state code is. And then there's a draft ordinance at the very end, which just repeats all of that same information, but puts it in ordinance format. So the point of contention that we can discuss and see where you all feel we should lie would be on what setback requirements the accessory dwelling unit should follow. So the state code says that the city can restrict an accessory dwelling unit to have to fit into the same box as the principal dwelling unit setbacks. So for like the R160 zoning, that'd be a 7-foot setback on one side and 8 foot on the other, and then, correct me if I'm wrong here, 35 from the front street, 30 from the front and 35 from the rear. So that kind of box is what it is. We also, what our current accessory dwelling unit language says is that it just has to meet accessory structure setbacks. So that's 5 foot from the rear lot line, 5 foot from the side lot line, and then a minimum of 10 feet from the main structure itself. So in one regard, if we kind of kept with our normal accessory structure setbacks, that would allow more lots to be able to fit an accessory dwelling unit because they're lesser. If we decided to use the principal building setbacks, which state code allows us to, then that would make accessory dwelling units maybe more difficult to site on a lot, which would make them less likely in certain situations. So it's just, there's kind of two, do we want to be a little more strict on setbacks or a little more lenient? I don't have a particular concern one way or another. I mean, we've talked about accessory dwelling units off and on as something that the city might want to allow. We've had, I think, 2 instances in the last, well, time since Elliot's been here, and 3 since I've worked here, of folks that wanted to do accessory dwelling units. Are you aware of how many Des Moines allowed them for a while?
2019.
And they've not had a
They've
real
had 7 built.
7 built. So
Do we have any currently?
we have one. Well, technically 2. We were talking about the Britt Baker property recently. The Britt Baker's property out there, he has a kind of a big ag property that there's an accessory dwelling unit in one of the horse barns. And then there's another ag property that's up in what's called the Lakeland Estates off of County Line Road that has an accessory dwelling unit. Our previous code would only allow them in the ag district. Then in the Maple Heights PUD that we approved a couple years ago, we've got the prelim plat out there. They're in the process of developing. That one allowed for accessory dwelling units within it as kind of a, let's see how it works in a normal neighborhood scenario. So we don't even know if there's real demand for that yet. But the state, again, lobbied by AARP, again, not necessarily bad things, but, you know, we don't always love that we have our local
They're
control.
thinking people build them for their parents to live.
That's the push from the AARP of the independent living, you know, not having to go off into skilled care until you really need to, or retirement communities. What do they call it? The aging in place aspect of retirement really pushes that idea of being able to do accessory dwelling units. So, yeah.
My 2 cents would be, I feel like if we held it to the standard setbacks, that's really restrictive. Like, I'm just thinking about my lot, right? Like, I've got like a typical, if I'm 80 foot or 90 foot residential lot that's 120 feet deep. By the time I do my setbacks, like that,
It takes a lot of your
ADU would
backyard.
basically, we have to be like right up my back door, essentially, right? But 10 feet out my back door
Yeah.
and really limit it. Is
And
there
that's
a,
big lot for what they.
and it's a, I mean, it's a bigger residential lot.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it was 10 years ago, right? They're not building lots that big anymore, typically. There's not, what are the accessory building setbacks?
5 foot from basically rear and side setbacks, and then you have to be 10 foot from any other structure.
I guess one of the notes you said in here, it didn't limit height, right? That was one of the things we could not restrict was
That's
height.
still the height of your.
Height you could,
Height of
or the
your
height of the
house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We still could or could not. It was up in the bullet points.
we
It's less, I think it's less. It's more vague than that. It's like 50% of the size of the home.
yeah.
I mean, it matches the
Yep.
property that's already there, or we'd be limited by whatever our single family residential height is.
I think it's our single family residential
What's our
height. So
Family residential height.
35.
So in theory, I could go and I could build a garage with a 2-story apartment above it, right?
I think we may have to do a code check on this. I don't know if an accessory building can be taller than your principal.
Okay,
So that might be the one thing getting in the way of an ADU being, 3 stories, a single story principal house, right?
yeah. I was just.
Well, that's an aspect of this I might need to read. We might need to visit and do a tweak before we go to council.
That's like, I guess I don't have any problem with the shorter setbacks. I would have a problem with the shorter setback if somebody's gonna build something that's 5 feet from the back property line, then all of a sudden turns into like a 3-story.
Right, like you could in theory,
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, a 2-story one wouldn't bother me, but a 3-story one, for some reason, kind of like, yeah, it seems a little bit excessive.
right. I mean, in theory, you could have a small ranch house that's, doesn't exceed 15 foot in height, but then in the backyard have, as long as you didn't go past these square foot standards, I don't know that you get to 3-story well, if you were over 1,000 square feet, but you might certainly 2-story.
Is there any language around use of the unit? I see a lot of folks in densely populated areas where they're using them for Airbnbs and.
Can't restrict that.
Yeah,
That's
that-
my-
There's a separate law that doesn't let us restrict Airbnbs that was enacted a few years ago.
I don't see that
Um,
happening here for a while, but I know in like New York, California, because I'm in the real estate business, they're doing that a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's no space, they're just building them
Yep.
and renting them out.
Yeah, and it does, the state law did say that we cannot regulate the use of an ADU as a rental or short-term rental. So they really, I mean,
That goes for houses too.
yep.
Just in
Yeah.
general.
The state did their homework on this. They really locked us down to what we can and can't do. So,
Lobbyists.
well, yeah, it was written by ARP, I'm sure, which again, if I were to write standards for ADUs, if as an advocate for them, this is great, right? But not being able to right size it for our community is frustrating.
So practically speaking, with the ADUs, if this goes forward,
Mhm.
which, our hands are sort of tied with the state law change. What if anything will change with the process through staff for the?
Process wise, it'll just be like building a house. So they'll still have to pull building permit, do all that stuff. Elliot reviews site plans for every house lot. He'd continue to do the same thing for an ADU to make sure that it met whatever setback we had. All inspections would be the same. We do have some language about utility connections. We can require that they have separate metered utilities. We can't require that it is a separate connection to the city main. So you could come off of your own service line on your lot and then go over to a ADU, and as long as they were separately metered, which would be fine because you're not daisy chaining your metering, right? That would be the one thing that we wanted to allow would be to have the new ADU come after the meter. I guess I don't know if we might allow that, then just one person's paying all the water, I guess. I don't know why you would do that, but so.
I guess if we went with the restricted, from back to the setbacks, like if we went back to the restrictive setbacks for the lot itself or the zoning itself, I mean, that would limit, in theory, you could build a garage, but you could not put an ADU over the top of it, correct?
Correct.
I guess that defeats the purpose of the whole ordinance in my mind, right? And that, not that that's the answer, but I mean, that's kind of your typical MO.
The other thing that I believe we can do is, I mean, there's a middle, like, we're on either extreme of this right now of principal building or accessory. We can, if you want, have us put together ADU setbacks, and maybe you feel better about 10 foot off of a side lot line and 10 foot off of a rear, right? Like,
Just want to.
Wait, can you tie it to the fact that if it does have an accessory function to it, then you could tie it to that? Like if you were gonna build a garage underneath, you could go to the 5 foots, but if you're not gonna build a garage to it, you go to a different setback, or is it not that?
I think we could tie it to the accessory dwelling
I
unit.
wanna make it easy for you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I feel like that's slightly backwards just because you'd be talking about garage plus ADU,
Yeah,
having a 5 foot setback
yeah.
as opposed to just ADU, then needing more. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I guess I don't know that I have a problem with it. The 5 foot setback.
Yeah, we can talk a lot about a lot of what ifs and like worst case scenario, but practically when I learned that, Des Moines has had 7 in the last 6 years, I know that we've had 3 in the, 11 years I've worked here. Like, I don't,
They're hard to finance. They're really
yeah,
hard
I
to
don't think
finance.
that we're gonna,
That's the main problem.
feels like we get something in place and then if we have an issue that we're like, oh, you know what, we didn't like how that turned out, then we can come back and change that.
Yeah. I think half
What's
of
an
them have-
advocacy group that,
Yeah, the rest of them are just like ones that have existed for decades.
yeah, it's grandfathered in.
Fit within the new ordinance.
Yeah, I think we make the rules, whereby if someone decides to do it, you give them as much space as possible to make it look nice.
Yeah,
Don't force them into a little box and then it looks terrible.
sure. Yeah,
Any other questions before we close the public hearing?
Did you guys get enough out of us to?
yeah.
Anybody on Zoom?
No objection.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 6:02. But I'm with you guys as far as I like the lesser setbacks. I think
Yeah.
it makes the most sense.
I just have whatever your motion is, if you can motion with that, just so that we're picking one of those and then we'll take it to council with that
Does
option.
it need to say something about the height? Like AJ said? I mean,
We,
It's
the
already.
state law doesn't let us do that. State law says that we can't require height requirements different than the single family residence.
from that specific single family residence or?
From what we require and what we have in the code.
So I could have my ranch house and I could put a 3-story ADU out back.
Yeah,
Could you put a 3-story?
I could.
in theory.
I could
Yeah.
put a garage and then 2 levels on top of it. If I wanted to, but
You still then have to meet you can't exceed the footprint threshold. I mean, they're functionally to do that. If you have a ranch, it's probably a smaller house than to get a 3-unit building or a 3-story building that meets that square foot threshold. I think it would be tricky. So, because I mean, you're talking I guess 500 square foot per level. I guess you could put that on top of a garage, 2-car garage, and call it a 3-story building. But yeah. It's one of those things, if we end up with it, we can maybe take a picture of it and then email it to your state representatives and say, this is why you need to give us more control over these things.
So I guess at this point, I would entertain a motion that approves the zoning amendment with the change to the setbacks consistent with our current accessory dwelling unit setbacks.
Yep, that works.
The accessory building.
Yeah, building. Yeah, there you go.
Samus on a motion.
Thompson second.
Hillary, would you call the roll, please?
Samuelson,
Aye.
Forrest,
Aye.
Eaton,
All right.
Hinders,
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Reganair.
Aye. Thanks, everyone. Hillary, did I verbalize the time closing the public hearing?
You did. You
Okay.
said 6:02.
Great. Item number 7 is a city council update. George, anything for us?
No.
I don't think Holly's joined us on the Zoom. Luke, community development update.
I don't got anything for you either today.
Oh,
You can keep it quick.
Elliot?
Get your picture fixed for next meeting. Nothing real substantial, except that we do have an agenda item for next meeting, so there will be a September 8th meeting. The only other thing, I was made aware of an article that came out about how the city of Helsinki, population over 600,000, has not had a single traffic fatality in over a year. That's cool. It's Googleable. You guys are intelligent human beings, and it's a 3-minute read. But I'm going to be talking about that at a public meeting on Thursday for Strong Towns Des Moines that I'm a part of. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, just pointing that out. I got nothing else.
Great. Like Elliot said, our next meeting is September 8th, 2025 at 5:45 PM. And I would entertain a motion in a second to adjourn.
Emotions.
Thompson seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
6:07. Thanks, guys, for joining on Zoom.